robberies to coming in and hang out with us for this minute. So I know on the schedule of time, and we want to make sure that everybody in here at the same time be able to talk about their program and everything. Brothers, we're going to right now bring up our speaker. Okay, all
right, very good. Before I begin, so every year, school, we do like a giveaway for kids going back to school, and we have some extra packs that we had left over. I wanted to see who might be with their children or their neighborhood. Okay, and one there. Yes, sir. I'm going past. Yes, sir. Family. Got these young people. I like the Oreo shirt. Keep wearing that shit. It's not even witness thing. I'm a witness thing. So I'm not gonna take much of y'all time. Look, Bill touched upon it. He said something about power. And we had, and I ain't talked to Bill before this conversation. That's how God works. So he talked about power. So Mike said, I'm from Cherry Hill. Any Cherry Hill folks in Cherry Hill? Cherry Hill. Good to see you, man. Yeah, man. What's up, man? Good to see you, man. Yeah. So Cherry Hill Shopping Center, right? Westport, yeah. Okay. So we had Cherry Hill Shopping Center. And I remember as a kid in the 60s, the shopping center, the people who owned the stores in Cherry Hill at the time, they all did not look like us. They were all white, right? They were bad people. They were white. And I could not understand for the life of me, why was it that in a community that was 100% African American at that time, and by the way, it's changing. Cherry Hill is changing. Right. Cherry Hill is diversified, believe it or not. That's right. So I couldn't understand how could it be that all the consumers are black and all the entrepreneurs were white. And as a kid, I'd look at that and I would talk to Mr. Wiseman and Mr. Cohen. These are all men who own the stores in Cherry Hill. And I noticed how they lived compared to how we live. Well, and I said, wow, this don't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And so, you know, as Mike said, I went to Poly. I used to drive, 2 hours each way. Mike's right. So 4 hours a day, I was on the bus to go from Cherry Hill to Poly and then get back at night. On top of that, Mike, I played sports. So I didn't get home 5 times to 9 to the night. You know what I'm saying? And then get up the next morning and go back to Poly and the whole thing. See, God works in mysterious ways. Because those 4 hours on that bus, you know what it gave me? Built-in study time. Wow. So I knew every single day I had 4 hours of study time. And that ties into us using what we are given in order to be successful. Okay. So fast forward. So I go to Poly, then I go to University of Pennsylvania, study engineering. Only black kid in the class at the time, studying mechanical engineering, applied mechanics at an Ivy League school. They didn't want us there, right? It was a battle. I remember 17 years old at Penn, I went to see my advisor, my academic advisor. And this guy who tells you what classes to take and all that, right? And so I go see him. I'm 17 years old. First time away from home. Never left Baltimore until then. I'm in West Philadelphia at Penn. Go in and see this guy. This guy's a PhD in engineering, right? So I goes in, and the guy, I'm not going to go, he says, come in. He never looks at me. Pulls out a folder of his high-power folders, starts going through it, and he says to me, son, you will never make it at this Ivy League school of engineering. Wow. Those were his first words. He said to me, you never met me, didn't know me from Adam. Wow. The first words are, son, you will never make it at this Ivy League school. You're not good enough. So what do y'all think I did, kid from Cherry Hill?
Took the challenge.
I want to bang him in his mouth. That's true. I did want to bang him in his mouth, right? Yeah. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. Shame the devil. I'm going to tell you the truth. You know what I did? I ran out of there, ran back to my room, closed my door, sat in the corner, and I cried like a baby. Yeah. Because that little man, in 15 minutes, had destroyed all the confidence that mom and daddy built in me and my brothers, the five of us, and my brothers over 17 years. I had let that little man in 15 minutes erase all the confidence and the commitment that mom and daddy had built into us for 17 years. So what do you think I did? So after I wiped my tears, I called home. Anybody ever call home? You ever that movie, Call Home? Yeah. When things ain't going so well, call home, right? Yeah. So I call home, right? And so mama answered the phone first. You know how black mothers are. Black mothers are, they're nurturing. They want to take care of their babies, especially their boys. And mama said, she could tell, she said, honey, something wrong. What's wrong, baby? Right. I told mama, I said, mama, well, I went to see my advisor, and he told me that I wasn't good enough to be at this Ivy League school. And mama, maybe I made a mistake. Mama, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I'm not that smart. Maybe I'm not that good. Mama, maybe I should come home and try something else. You know how black mothers are trying to, console me and make me feel better. But thank God, Daddy was an eardrop of that call. And my father at one point was a sparring partner for Joe Lewis, the Brown Bomber. And y'all too young to know about Joe Lewis. When you go home, Google it, right? Joe Lewis, the Brown Bomber. Daddy was one of his sparring partners back in the day. But Daddy could, they helped you. I mean, Dad, back in the day when boys tried to show themselves and they had fathers who said, boy, I kick your ass. Right. That's how the gloves on. I'll show you who the real man is, right? That's how Daddy was. So Daddy grabbed the phone, Mike, and Daddy said, boy, Daddy called you boy to get your attention. Right. It wasn't meant as disrespect. It was to remind you I'm the father, that's right, and you're the son. The hierarchy, right? Daddy said, boy, what's wrong with you? I told Daddy what happened. Then my father said to me, Daddy said, and this is one of those defining moments that we're about to have in the city of Baltimore. A defining moment. I'll be back. Defining moment. Daddy says to me, he said, boy, let me tell you something. He said, I'll be damned if you won't let some man tell you what you're worth. And then Daddy said, but make it real. Daddy said, I didn't raise no chumps. I raised 5 boys. I ain't raised no chumps. Daddy said, you know what? Take what you do, son. He said, you get up off your ass, dry your eyes, and get ready for school the next day. Right? Daddy in essence said, and then Daddy closed the deal. Then Daddy said, and by the way, son, don't call here no more worrying your mother. Wow. He said, I will see you at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Wow. So what did Daddy do? What Daddy did? That's right, yes, sir. He said, man up. That's it. Man up. You know, Hannibal was a great general, was a great warrior. He was a black man, Right. Hannibal had this technique. When he was marching to Rome to fight the Romans, you know what he would do? Whenever they crossed the bridge to get to Rome, what would he do to the bridge? He burned it. He burned to the ground. He burned to the ground. Because he said, I want you to get in your mind, there is no going back. Wow. There is no backing down. There's no retreat. All we know is going forward. So what my dad did to me that day was he burned that bridge. He said, boy, ain't no coming back here. You ain't coming back to Cherry Hill where your mother. You better get your ass up and get ready for school. Man, I'm going to tell you, I never worked so hard in my life that semester. I never, because the bridge had been burned, Daddy had set the expectation, and I knew I had to deliver. Man, I worked so hard. Mike, I made dean's lists in engineering and University of Pennsylvania that first semester. My daddy had burned that bridge. And so, look, we are about to have a defining moment just like that, I believe, in Baltimore City. Right? We are reaching a point where if we don't do something as a people in this city, we will move beyond the point of return. See, opportunities don't always come forever. Those of us who are able to, have to take advantage of the opportunities. I talked to you about power. Well, as Mike said, I wrote a couple of books because I was always fascinated by Black entrepreneurship and Black wealth and Black power. Always. So I've written 8 books. And this is a couple of them. I brought a few Mike to give away if I would want to do it. We can do it that way. But in this book, Black Wealth, I talk about power. But I talk about power from an economic perspective. Let me explain what I mean by that. So what I say in the book is this. I say that any group of people who are competing in a society that is based upon capitalism, they have to have a power base in order to be competitive and to be successful. Okay? That's my hypothesis. And a hypothesis is simply a guess. It's an educated guess. So my educated guess, my hypothesis is that until you build this economics, you do not have power. So in the book, I talk about the power triad, three-sided device, triad. And what I say in the book is that for any group who is competing in a society that's based upon capitalism, they have to build this power triad. Let me explain to you what the triad is. It's real simple. You got 3 parts to the triad. You got political power, you have what I call ethnic rooting, and then you have economic power. This triad. Ethnic rooting, political power, economic power. My hypothesis is if you build that as a people, you will be competitive in a society that's based upon capitalism. All right, so far so good? So I would submit to you, men, I would submit to you that we as a people have been successful at building 2/3 of that triad. Let me explain. The first triad, the first lattice is ethnic rooting. What do I mean by that in the book? It simply means that you understand the contributions that people that look like you have made to humanity. I know in America, they've tried for many, many years to hide away our history. Even down there in Florida, that crazy governor, he trying to remove change black history. All right? That's what the enemy does. If he can take away your history, he can take away your power. That's right. So, but we know from our parents, ethnic rooting, because through the civil rights movement, the contributions that we have made to humanity. And guess what? Those contributions go thousands of years before Dr. King's March on Washington. Every time they talk about black history, they go to the King, March on Washington, King's I Have a Dream speech, and maybe slavery, Mike, and then that's African American history. That's not. It's longer than that. You look at the math and the science and the architecture that you see around the world. Guess what? Its origins were on Africa. So we celebrate that. It doesn't mean you put down other people. It's not what it means. It means you lift up yourself and your community. All right. That's ethnic rooting. The second part of the line is the power triad. Man, is political power. That's why we have to vote. No matter what impediments they throw in our way, we have to vote. You can't say it doesn't matter. It does matter. Political power does matter. Let me tell you why it matters. Because all political power is the ability to influence how tax revenues are collected and how tax revenues are expended. How they're collected, who pays taxes, and then how that tax money is spent. And guess what? Who controls those 2 things? Controls to a large degree industry. Because if I know where the money is, then I can position myself to benefit in my business. That's the connection between business and politics. That's why when I started my company 30 years ago, it became very clear to me, man, I had to do a couple of things. But one of them was I had to build relationships with politicians. Like it or not, those men and women, they have an influence on how tax revenues are collected and how they are spent. That's how we build our energy company. We do solar, wind, batteries, all that kind of technical poly engineering stuff like y'all Northwestern guys don't. I had to get it in. You know, because Obama came in 2008, we studied his plan for the country. He was going to put a lot of money into energy. Again, then follow the money when you're in business. Follow the money. Right. We saw where the money was going. From solar, wind, battery. I said, okay, I got it. I got this. And we marshaled our resources and our business to start with energy to do work in those spaces. Right. That's why political power is so important. Here in Baltimore City, we spend what, $3-4 billion here, the government, $3-4 billion a year. Those are dollars that if we have the right leadership can impact and strengthen the black community and the working class community. Okay? If we have leadership that understands the connection between political world and the business world, there's a direct connection there. But we very rarely have had leadership that recognizes that. And so we squander these economic opportunities. And our community, the African American community in Baltimore City, has not benefited from the economy of this city for decades, maybe centuries. All right. So my point is this. Again, my hypothesis is this. What's the hypothesis? An educated guess. My educated guess is this. Is that the issues that particularly African Americans face, or poor folks in general in this city face, they are, the root cause is economics. It's economics. If you look at the dysfunction, you look at poverty, you look at the violence, the hopelessness, the helplessness, beloved, it's all, if you peel the onion, it comes down to economics. If we have a vibrant economy in the black community in this city and throughout this nation, you will not have the violence that you see today. You will not have the dysfunction. You will not have the family breakup that you see. You will not have the helplessness. You will not have the hopelessness. It's all tied to economics, empowerment. And the point I tried to make in the last election was that you can't keep going to Annapolis and D.C. with your hands out asking for money. You cannot be a ward of the state or the government forever, because they're going to give up on you. You know what's happening there, beloved? And you mark my words. You look what I'll tell you what's happening there. So if you look at the economy, and I'm an engineer and I'm a businessman, MBA too, so I kind of get to these number stuff. You look at any economic social system, okay? You have the upper class, and you have the middle class, and you have the lower class or working class, right? And you have gradients of those areas. You have upper and upper middle and those kinds of things. But you get the idea. In our society, a society based upon capitalism, there are these hierarchies. Like it or not, believe it or not, it's true. Caste system. An economic caste system. Thank you, brother. It's the economic caste system. So you have these systems. And so we as a people have historically, not because we didn't try, because we did. Every time we built success, they burned it down. Yep. I said it on a TV show the other day, got mad at you. You talking about it? I said, you read history is there. Every time we built back Wall Street, they burned it down. Every time we try to climb up, they push us down. Right. You ain't got to take my word, read history. And so we've always been relegated to this lower level. But let me tell you what's happening there. There's a new level that is emerging. And it is a level, I would submit to you, below working class. And we call, and you will hear me say this, if I run for mayor, you will hear me talk about this. That new level, which is below working class, is called the irrelevant class. The irrelevant class. What do I mean by that? It means that these are people, men and women, who are irrelevant. In other words, if you dropped an atomic bomb and they disappeared from Baltimore or from the United States, nobody would know. Nobody would miss them. There'll be no impact. And who are these people? They are my nieces and nephews. They are my grandchildren, my great nieces and nephews. Amen. They are become part of the irrelevant class. Now that's scary. That's scary. See, back in the old days, in the agricultural, in the growing economy, they needed that labor to pick their cotton, to pick the soybeans, to work in Bethlehem still, like my daddy and y'all daddies did, right? They needed us because the economy was based upon physical labor.
That's right.
Right.
Now it no longer is. So unless the people have improved their skills to compete in this economy, they will become part of the irrelevant class. And they could be wiped away, and no one would miss them or know that they're gone. I would submit to you, unfortunately, if that were to happen today, you would find a large percentage of our people in that number irrelevant. Irrelevant. So my thing is, how do we prevent that from happening to our people in the city? Right? So I talked about power. Back to the power triad. First one's what? Ethnic what?
Rooting.
Rooting. Very good. Somebody paying attention. Ethnic rooting. What's the second one? Political power. The third one is economic power. I will submit to you, beloved, that's what's missing. Not only in Baltimore, not only in the United States, global. That's why, as Mike knows, we spend a lot of time in Africa and Latin America and Panama, where there is an African diaspora of men and women who have left Africa and put down roots in other continents, right? This is about economic empowerment on a global level. And I'm saying to you, beloved, that if we don't fix that economic piece, which is why I wrote these books about entrepreneurship, because I'm trying to find a way, how can I help my people? How can I help my people accelerate the formation of businesses? But not only accelerate it, but for them to be successful. So they can pass on benefits to their family and to their community. I can tell you my businesses, I've hired a lot of my Cherry Hill homeboys. Men and women who under normal conditions would have been part of the irrelevant class, right? Because of how we think. I said, you know what? I gotta pull my brother up. God's been good to me, and I've been blessed. So for those who are blessed, okay, you're required to be a blessing. So I pulled my homeboys up, and guess what else? So what they did, Mike, they pulled up the next generation.
Right. That's right.
Through that same chain. Yeah. So God blessed me. I passed the blessing on down to him. He passed down to his children, and now their grandchildren. Isn't that something? Isn't that great how God works? That's what's going to take. And what I submit to you, beloved, is this. Now I'll close my video questions, right? I submit to you that in this coming election, whether whoever you choose, whoever you vote for, right, you need to find somebody, put somebody right down the street, put somebody in there who understands the connection between economic power and political power. Because until that changes, beloved, you're never going to see a change in crime, violent crime. You're never going to see a change in hopelessness, helplessness. You're never going to see a change in homelessness. Tell me this: when you go to Golden Park, do you see homeless at Golden Park?
Hell no.
Nope.
Absolutely not. No.
Do you see robberies at Golden Park?
No.
Nope. Do you see dysfunction in Golden Park? Nope. Do you see trash in Golden Park? Nope. You know why? Not because they're bad people. They're not. I know many people who live there. It's because they have the economic base that ensures the outcomes that they desire. Right. I would submit to you that if Cherry Hill had the same kind of economic base that Golden Park has, you would see the same results in Cherry Hill. Right. So I remind people, when you talk about black on black crime and black on black this and that, I remind them, no, it's not black on black. You know what it is? It's poor on poor. That's right. It's poor people who are traumatized and they strike out at those who are closest to them. Right. It's poor on poor. Anybody here from Prince George's County? Oh, no, pretty big. Prince George's County has some pretty nice neighborhoods, bro. Don't you, bro? They got some nice, wealthy black people. You go in neighborhoods, it's just like Golden Park. Clean, no crime, no hopelessness, and they're all black people. So it ain't black on black, it's poor on poor. So when they tell you it's black on black, correct them. Say, no, sir, it's not black on black, it's poor on poor. That's the issue, it's economics. And so we got to keep making that point and complete that power triad. And I submit to you, if we complete that power triad in Baltimore and throughout the world, we will change this country, we will change the world. But we have to be aware of that and be committed to it. So, Mike, I'm done. Any questions I can answer, Mike?
A couple of things, you know, when you say about the irrelevant, you know, we have to say time that they would come missing and nobody would care. That's what happened in Brooklyn. Because in Brooklyn, the first thing that the police said was there were a lot of people, but they didn't do anything.
Right.
Then you had the housing authority saying, well, they didn't have permission. How do you not have permission to celebrate each other in the community? And now they have this structure now. And for those of you who are having an event or thinking about having an event that takes place outside, your form now is about that long. Because they scared of each other. So I appreciate when you say they're irrelevant because I watched those respond when the lady sat on TV and said she heard the police reports when they were telling them that all of this activity is going on. And not that I wanted a massive showing the police up in the area because I don't never want that situation. But what I do want is I don't expect, and I always tell the mayor this, you ain't got nothing to do with a person pulling out a gun and shooting an individual person. But all I want to be is protected like they are anywhere else.
That's all.
And you don't even see police.
That's all.
That's true. We don't have no police north of Northern Park, where you know where I'm the last Palestinian that lives up there. We don't have even police. Police don't even come up above Northern Parkway. Why? We have 3 levels of community security up there. Northwest Citizen Patrol, the Shamrock, Baltimore County Police, State Police, and the City Police are all mixed to drive through there every now and then.
And 2 ambulances.
And 2 ambulances, yeah. And 2 ambulances has something, HATZMA. But at the end of the day, I just want everybody to recognize that if we recognize where we are, then we can fix what we can fix. When you don't recognize it and you don't think it exists, then you're fooling yourself. So I will take any question for him and point to him to answer. And of course, my man. Yeah.
What's up, bro? I agree with all that you said, but I'll also add that politicians all understand that they have, to get in office first. When the people come to them with the money, they sell their soul. And that's what's been happening with us in Baltimore.
Yes,
Everywhere. They say all these things. When they get in, they're going to do this, that, and the other.
Right.
But when money man say, hell with that.
Right.
Look at Kathy. Kathy wouldn't have been locked up if she hadn't said, hell with them. Pimlico ain't closing. We ain't moving Pimlico. She said that before she got permission to say it. And all of a sudden, these charges came up. They all along. People don't realize that these things don't just happen.
Amen.
Somebody already got a plan. You don't act right, I'm gonna show you I can control you.
Yes.
Then ask the question, what separates them?
Yeah. And you look at Brandon. Brandon can't do what he really want to do. He got to come out there and be a clown for all of these situations and stuff, calling people cowards and stuff. I think it's sad. It's really sad to see how things are going, but it's only getting worse because of the class that you said, the irrelevant class.
Yes, sir.
Our irrelevant class has been around for a long time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, I look at it all the time. I run a station, and that's all we see.
Right.
It's the irrelevant class.
Yes, sir.
So, I agree with you, but I don't know how we can really rectify it. This will take years.
It is, sir. It is, and I would say this. It starts at the top.
That's right.
Any change is going to start at the top. If you have a football team, NFL team, and a team not performing, who do you fire first? The coach. The coach. You don't fire all the players. You fire the coach. You start there. So I'm saying, sir, we got to start at the top with the leadership. We got to change the paradigm of leadership. That's why I think And whether it's me or somebody else, God will decide that. But I'm saying you need somebody at the top who understands economics, who understands business, who understands how do we bring business to the city, how do we accelerate minority business growth that is sustainable, how do we build a tax base and create jobs. The leader has to understand that because every decision he or she makes has to be intentional in that respect, sir. So, sir, it is going to be a difficult problem. I told you, but we got to start somewhere. That's what I would say. Bill?
So my question is this. First of all, thank you, Bob, and you made a nice presentation. But I guess when you're talking about the irrelevant, and the irrelevant as well as those of us that's in here, if you become mayor, how do you bring us into that fold to really be a part
Absolutely.
of helping you and help to live programs that people got one, like Leon talked about his program.
Yes,
because far too often people get in, but after they get in, then they don't have connection with you. They can't reach you. They have to go through too many channels to get in touch with you.
Yes, sir.
How do you make that happen?
Good question, Bill. Three things, Bill. Number one is you got to have somebody who has a level of humility. A level of humility. Somebody that will shut their mouth and listen. And listen, right? I mean, I can bring the ideas and all that, but the humility is to listen. Right. The first thing you do is to engage men like you, right? To help the new mayor, whoever he or she is, come up with ideas. I have said all along, the solutions to all of our problems exist in the minds of the people. Right? When I was in Cherry Hill, for example, right, and the bad guys went bad and did something bad, everybody in Cherry Hill knew who did it. Right? They knew who did it, and they knew where they lived. The breakdown was they didn't trust the police to give them the data because they didn't trust them, right? So we got to build that trust. Absolutely. Third thing, Bill, we got to be intentional. That is, Bill, every dollar that I control as mayor, that I control of, let's say it's the 3.5 billion, whatever dollars it is, every dollar I spend, I have to be intentional and ask the question, how does this dollar I'm going to spend benefit the people of the city? Wow. Not just the developers, not just the rich folks. I mean, I got to deal with them too. I'm not a kid. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But the difference between me and others is that I don't need the money. God's been good to me. So I don't owe anybody anything. You know what I mean? So like Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, I liked him. You know why I liked him? Because he didn't give a shit. He had enough money. He had, I don't give a shit money. That is, I can make decisions that are right for the people and take the heat. Like Murray did down in D.C., like Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. We built the Atlanta airport. You all know that story, right? They tried to build an airport in Atlanta. Maynard Jackson said, "You will not build that airport unless there's participation from minority businesses." That's right. And they took him to hell and back. They went after Maynard Jackson so hard, man, y'all wouldn't believe it. I knew Maynard Jackson. He was one of my mentors, right? They took him to hell and back, but he stood his ground because he had the political courage to do what is right. And it's hard sometimes, bro. It's hard, but you got to be grounded enough that you can take the arrows, take the heat, right, and do what's right. All right, bro.
Got a question at a stake, bro. The piece of the puzzle with you, and God bless you, and I appreciate your presentation, and I appreciate you. But the piece that made you, have you where you're standing is education.
Yes, sir.
That's what I need from my man.
My Lord.
Now here, I want you to hear this.
Yes, sir.
First of all, we know when I'm probably about a year or so ahead of you guys, 73 Douglas, North Carolina. I went to Pinnacle Junior High School.
Yes, sir.
I was like in private school.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like you were at Pilot, Western City,
yes,
Eastern. They were like going to private school. I was an accelerator.
Yeah, so was I.
My point being to you is, until we address that piece of the puzzle, we have snapshots of some great stuff going on in Baltimore. This school adopted this. I know because I'm involved.
Yes, sir.
And then we have all of this. You talked about PG. there was a misquote in Ebony magazine. PG had the richest black, was the richest black county. That was misunderstood in Ebony. They had the richest black community. PG is poor as hell as a county. It has spotlights of different things. But just like I know, because when the education piece came into play,
Yes, sir.
Baltimore and PG are the worst two education meccas in the state.
And 23 and 24.
Yep.
So
Right.
the
Yes,
reason
sir.
what people don't understand is it's all about it until we get back to the roots of now everybody talks about all our money goes in the kids after they go bad. Recidivism, the court system,
Yes, sir.
courts. Until we invest, there's no profit in invested in education. After you go bad, it's plenty of money.
Yes, sir.
Until we go back to the fundamentals of get our kids right, education,
Yes,
nothing's gonna change. Because everybody in this room halfway, you have to be intelligent, but you had to go to school.
That's exactly right.
When you got a girl pregnant, you went to night school at Douglas High School.
Yes, sir.
And you worked during the day.
Yes, sir.
And she went to the pregnant school.
Absolutely.
Education #1.
Absolutely.
Until we all these things, awesome. Political empowerment, economic empowerment, ethnic rooting, absolutely. But without education, none of that happens.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And what I would add to that is the connectivity of education to all those things. In other words, I cannot have great education, right, unless I'm addressing the economic disparity.
Right.
Unless I'm addressing the quality of life issues, unless I'm addressing the police and the whole, it's a system.
Education allows me to understand
It does.
economics.
It does, brother.
I can't comprehend none of that stuff without education.
Yeah, and totally agree. So the question is, how do we get there? How do we get to where you're saying? If I'm in charge of things, this is what I'm gonna do. Number one, my analogy about the NFL football team. If a team not performing, who do you fire? The coach. So Miss Smith, I don't know who's St. Lisa's fans in here. Guess what? She had enough time to figure something out. She's a lovely woman. I like her. But that ain't about life. Nope. I would give it to her. I would change the board of directors of the school system to the degree that I could have made. Right? Because we need men and women in there who understand the connection between business and education and the economy. Okay? Thank you. And then we need to have a system that breaks down the education system to small pieces that we can manage, right? In zones and that type of thing. Instead of metrics, what we call in the tech field KPIs, key performance indicators, that tells us how the system is producing, right? Those are the things I would do, brother, because you're right. Now, that's going to take time. That ain't overnight.
You ain't getting the condition overnight, not get down overnight.
Amen,
so,
amen.
Don't do a drive-by. You got to roll your sleeves up
Yes,
with the
sir.
back. And something,
Yes.
you got to be inclusive. When you talk with the community,
Yes, sir.
you got to be inclusive.
Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir.
Engaging is inclusiveness.
And this is what I told the current mayor. When I lost to him in 2020, I called him up, and I conceded. Because he kicked my butt. Okay? I was running as an independent. Never done it in the history of Baltimore before.
Right.
I got about 20% of the vote. Never heard of, right?
Right.
And I called him and said, I'm Mr. Scott. I'm here to help you any way that I can. I said, but I would advise you to reach out to the people because the answers to the solutions to our problems are in the hearts and minds of the people.
That's right.
How much degree he did that, I had no idea. But I did offer.
None.
And if I'm a leader, and that's the same way I go about business. My employees will tell you that when we got a situation, I go to them and say, tell me what do we need to do? Now, admittedly, I make the final decision. I'm a CEO, right? But I go to them because they're on the ground. They're talking to the customer every day. They're in the offices of our clients. They know what the answer is. I'd be a fool not to go to them first. Go ahead, Mike.
Come on, brother. Come on,
So, first thing I want to say is, y'all old folks can't call y'all stop bashing the age. That's the first thing.
First, no one in here back your age. No, but first thing you call us an old folk. What we are, or we're your elders. So you can respect the elders. Wait a minute. Wait, you're in my house. You're in my house.
That's fine.
If you were in your grandfather's house, would you respect his house?
I said older folks.
No, but we're not older folks. We're your
You are
elders.
older to me. My elders.
Brother, get it off. Go ahead.
But what did I say? Something to me?
None of that. I'm just saying.
So we didn't bash no young people.
Well, let me talk then.
Okay, go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
Please.
Okay? Now, I'm 39 years old. I'll be 40 next year.
Yes, sir.
You know, the reality is, I hear a lot of stuff. It sounds good. It's good. Yeah. Oh, you know. But you know, we ain't supporting each other like we should be.
Amen. Now, that's true.
This man called the man clown. He's my age group. Man. Okay. That's a bash on me.
We in agreement with that.
Listen to me. On my age group.
Yes.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I just, it gets frustrating when the older folks are supporting my age,
Yes.
like they should be. Honestly. It ain't got nothing to do with the man, but what I'm saying is, I hear this too much. We need to come together and support each other so we can grow. That's the only way it's going to happen. It drives me nuts.
Yes, sir.
You know that I might say something, and the first thing happen is he jump on, and I don't even get my
I didn't jump on it. I asked for my respect. You won't give me that. That I earned. No, but I earned that.
I did too.
No, you said you're 39 and you're young folks. Tell me what you've done that's considered helped everybody in this
Why
room.
you yelling at me?
Next question.
Next
question.
Hey, sir. So let me do this. So I had 5 kids.
Okay.
And I had 10 grandkids.
Yeah.
My oldest son is 46.
Okay.
My baby girl is 29.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. I really do. And I work hard to try to hear. Thank you. Thank you, sir. To be mindful. And I tell you something, I learned a lot from my kids and my grandkids.
Right.
So as part of being a leader, you gotta open your ears and listen to people like you, right? Understand their position, right? And then build that into your solution.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir. I hear you.
And I believe, and if I was further along than I should be, I will be the bigger man and say, I apologize on that. But I will deserve my respect. I did.
I go with that.
I earned it.
I
Okay.
also think he made a generalization.
Yeah.
Just because I
You
said
don't
he
know
was
what all of us
clowning,
doing here.
you don't know what I work with. I work with young
That's
people.
fine.
Every day. So do I.
So
That's
don't
called not
take
supporting.
the
That's
generalization.
called not supporting.
That was a direct
Right.
quote.
Hold on,
I'm bringing age. I call him a clown.
Let me just say real quick.
Oh.
Hey, man, again, listen.
How do we
Listen,
grow?
hold on. Let me just say thank everybody. There's one thing about this. You know what I'm saying? We never come in here to be disrespectful or to argue between ourselves. We come in here to get educated, to talk about issues, and to support a business, right? We gotta always keep it like that, right? Because once we start this, listen, once we start this, then we'll get out of control, right? We not arguing. We not debating. Everybody got their opinion.
We meet each other where we are.
That's right.
They don't want to
All
stay there
right.
and meet each
So
other.
let's go ahead and finish the program.
There's a question over here, and then we have, and of course, my elder, and then
Thank you.
Bob, we got to go.
Well, it's always good to see you,
Good to see
Mr.
you,
Wallace. You've been an inspiration for me for quite a long
Praise
time,
God.
since I got your green book 20-something
That's right.
years ago. But I also have the belt from he inspired me to go to Tanzania, everyone. I was undecided until, you talked to me.
I remember.
And so, I feel good about that. And I now have a red truck just like you. So I'm just following your steps in many ways. But I, a few years ago when Mayor Jack Young was the mayor, he went to a conference in Las Vegas. And, I expressed to him, I've been going to what's called the Power Networking Conference, the Black Enterprise Conference. I'm sure. And as well as Mr. Bugsby's conference. And like one year when I was at the Black Enterprise Conference, there was a brother there, and he said that he was looking to expand his business up north.
Right.
And he chose, Prince George's County. And I just, thought like that's a missed opportunity for Baltimore. And unfortunately, I don't know if these mayors have, really conscious, intelligent people that's really sincere about Black business and connecting to Black entrepreneurs.
Right.
I mean, so I felt like, I was out there grinding. I don't have no big business like that, but if I can go and connect to these people and find out you can't send somebody, but you can send somebody to to Vegas to get these big white developers, I guess, to come in. So, there's this total disconnect and a lack of a race consciousness about understanding the racial disparities in Baltimore and the state of Maryland. So I see it, throughout. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Leo,
And it's a
and
global
more,
issue,
we
like
gotta
you said. It's
Yes,
a
sir.
global issue.
look out time. Leo, and then
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
good morning, Leo.
I'm 110 years old.
Yeah.
I'm
True that.
43 years. I'm president and founder of Roots Scouting Organization. Roots Scouting We're a 501c3, and we engage young people and people of all ages all the time.
That's right.
And that's an exciting challenge to give and take. Our mayor, unfortunately, in my opinion, imposed a crime plan and another crime plan and another crime plan. He didn't consult with a whole lot of folks because he's a genius. And I understand, in his mind, he's a genius. What I'm asking specifically, and I agree with you about economics.
Yes, sir.
But I want to address public safety.
Yes, sir.
And how do we gain control? I think I know, but I will hear your thesis. How do we gain control over the police and fire department and the FOP, which is they're consciously engaged in a conspiracy to destroy our people?
Yes, sir.
They don't live in the city.
Yes, sir.
They don't want to live in the city.
Mm.
And they're more than part of the problem. When you talk about consent decree and institutional racism, they got it going on and they haven't changed. Brooklyn Park is an example. On and on it goes. And we seem not to be able to get a handle on self-determination regarding police and fire department, which, by the way, fire department is worse in numbers. If you talk about how many blacks are in it, I think apprenticeship and job training is extremely important.
Yes, sir.
Throughout our high school structure.
Yes, sir.
To pay the students who we contract with the parents to go through the system for police and fire.
Institution, right? It's important to recognize that the institution, and I know a lot of police. I know a lot in my own family and in my network. I know a lot of police, right? At the federal level, state level, local level. But that does not deny the history of policing in America. If you study the institution of policing, it was designed in its institutional days formation to keep black people under control. They were slave hunters. They were hunt runaway slaves. That's how the institution started. Not saying that all police are bad. They're not. I know too many good ones to say that.
Amen.
But we need to teach at the academy for new officers, understand the institution, how it started,
Right.
and how it got to a point today where black people and brown people do not trust the police. There's a reason for that, because of the institution. Now, having said that, sir, I would start there addressing the institution. I would do what you said too, in terms of we need to have representation in police and in fire of people that look like the people that they are serving, okay, whether it's police or fire. And I think it's an honorable job. I think a fire person is an honorable job. I think a police person is an honorable job. But we need people there that represent and understand the people that they're servicing. And that has to start, sir, in that K through 12 track.
Absolutely.
Now, I will say something now that may be controversial. That is this. I believe that if I'm mayor, my job is to protect the people. So I will tell you, if you take a gun and you take a life, or you hurt somebody, then you gotta pay.
Oh,
You got to pay.
absolutely.
So yeah, I don't care how old you are. And I'm a black man. I understand the sensitivity. I understand how the system has been designed for mass incarceration. I do get that. But the people who are being murdered and killed in our city and robbed and sir, what's your name? Miguel. Miguel. Polyband. Polyband.
Did y'all have girls in this school?
Oh, dang. No.
He did. Give me a special.
A part of why people becoming relevant.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
AI is taking the place
Yes,
of
sir.
all these people.
Yes, sir.
You got machines doing what
Yes, sir.
20 people used to do.
Yes, sir.
One machine is doing it like
Yes, sir.
that. So
You go ahead and hear what he said. He said that AI, or technology in general, has accelerated the development of the irrelevant class. Because of those technologies, we can do things now. We don't need those people. Now, to answer your question, what do we need to do? Back to education. We have got to get to our young people at an earlier age to instill in them the skills that you and I and that we had to become engineers, right? I have 5 kids. I told y'all that. 4 of my kids, 4 to 5, are engineers. Now, how did that happen? It happened because I'm an engineer. My wife is a biomedical engineer. When they were children, when they were kids, we were intentional about getting them the math training and the science training that they needed to be competitive in a STEM field. And bro, you and I know if you don't have that, you cannot do it. You can't wait to 12th grade in high school to get mathematics and be an engineer. It ain't gonna happen. So what we gotta do for your group and other groups like that, and if I change St. Lisa's with another leadership if I'm there, right? We're gonna start that process when they're younger, like with my kids, so that we can groom them to be competitive in a STEM field. That's the only way it's gonna happen. Because you and I know, man, you can't start in 12th grade and do that. You can't start in college and do it. So you gotta get them sooner, brother.
Okay, come on.
I'm sorry, Mike.
We're gonna race around and shut it down. Come back around.
Yes, sir.
A lot of our kids don't have fathers in the house. Yes, sir. We come from a lot of programs. Yes, like my rightful passion was in the military. Yes, sir. You know, and I live about 3 blocks from Artutica. Yes, sir. And North. And I have seen As I think about this, how do we see things about young boys? And I come up and I said, we need to have men teachers. Yes, sir. We need to separate the boys from the girls. Yes, sir. And have men teachers. Yes, we need to have. To me, I think we need to come together, a group of men, organizations, and all black politicians. Yes. And we have our own agenda. Yes, sir. Not what the white folks want us to do. We got to think about us. As see, I come out of the traditional country club. These were the first generation of black men coming out of slavery. Yes, formed the club. Yes, and they were race first. They weren't for all lives, but they were for race first. Yes, up with us. Yes. So right now we got to think about how we want to save our youth. If we don't come up with an agenda, yes, and we can promote as a big group of men, we're not going to beat this thing. Yes, sir. We're not going to beat it. Yes, sir. I want to tell you out. Absolutely.
So, what's your name? So he opened up a can of worms here. And the can of worms is, if you peel back the onion of why we're having this dysfunction, right? It is a lot of cases, these young men who don't have a father to kick their ass when they think they're all ass.
That's right. That's right.
So I
right.
eat for a strong mother. So I'm not knocking strong mothers. Okay, but in my own family, we have everything in my family. We got addicts, we got alcoholics, we have teen pregnancies, we have it all. In my own family. I get it. Nobody needs to tell me about that. I know it. I live it. But we gotta be real, like you said, bro. We gotta be real. The fact of the matter is, we have too many of our kids, especially our young boys, who don't have that daddy to kick their ass like my daddy did me years ago when I wanted to come home and quit. He said, "No, you're not." Right? Wow. So how do we do that? My suggestion is this: we've got to recreate in the community. We got to recreate that father value that might be missing in some families. Now, I know there are mothers, single mothers, who work hard to raise their son, and they do a great job. But I will say this, it takes a man to raise a man. Right? So I would bet you, even when there's a mama there, I bet you there's an uncle or somebody down the street, there's some man that got to that boy's life to help him grow to a man. So we need to recreate that what's missing in the family. Right. And I think, sir, if I was mad, what I would try to do is do what you said. That is to build this base, particularly of black men, that can be injected into the system, the school system, right? To provide that extra asset, that extra value, typically these young boys. I also agree with you. If I could do it, I would separate the boys from the girls.